Welcome everyone on this snowy day. I'm Catherine Maroney of Community Affairs at NYP Hudson Valley Hospital, along with Chef Emily Berner of the Chef Peter X. Kelly Teaching Kitchen on our Cortlandt Manor campus. We are delighted about today's program and our special guest. Speaking of good fortune associated with the Lunar New Year, we are very fortunate to have as our NYP Community Affairs colleague, Chu Man Lai, who will tell us more about cultural traditions and the significance of today's recipes prepared by Chef Emily. First, a few Zoom ground rules. Kindly stay muted throughout the presentation and use chat for your questions. Chu Man, I'm turning the program over to you.
Thank you, Catherine, and thank you everyone for joining us this afternoon. I hope you all will stay warm and cozy at your own kitchen, and hopefully we could share some Lunar New Year tradition with all of you. So let's start with our slide. Next. Okay, so Lunar New Year begins, as many of you know, with the lion dance. And why do we start with the lion dance? So they start off with old folk tales where there's a very bad evil monster that called Lin, and that monster would always come out in the midnight of New Year's Eve and start invading the village and ruining the crops and eating up the farm animals. So in order for the villager to protect their home and also their property, they created this mythical lion, because in the old days, they considered lion as the king of the animal. So as you see on this picture, they create this big, lion with big eyes and furry, skin. And it's actually run by a couple peoples under the skin. And what they do is they will go around the village, as now in the city, they will go around in Chinatown on the streets, and people will be banging their drums and gongs, making a lot of loud noises to scare off that monster. And when they finish with the parade, what they will do is to send a blessing, from their mouth. So as you see on this horizontal pictures, where they usually will send a blessing, to the business and to those families that they go visit. Next. And while the lion dance goes around, everybody likes to have fun with them. So at our campus down at Lower Manhattan, each year during the Lunar New Year, we always invite the lion dance to come into our hospital to pay visit to our patient and also to our staff as well. And they go around on each floor to kick off, to get rid of the bad spirit. And as the staff, and visitors, visit the lion, what they would do is to play with it. So they could rub their nose, comb their hair. And the last thing you don't want to forget is to feed the lion with the hong bao, which is the red envelopes for good luck. Next. And together, with the lion dance, you always hear the firecrackers and the fireworks that also are part of the tradition to scare off the monster, and it becomes so tradition that even though now firecrackers is banned, but on the street, you will see children and family playing these non-fiery confetti cannons on the streets around, the New York City on New Year's Day. Next. And then, of course, we talk about the hong bao in Mandarin, which means the red pockets full of money. So in the old days, it's a tradition, especially for elderly like grandparents and parents, to give the hong bao to their children, or actually anyone who's unmarried. So if you have a brother who turns 40s and he's still unmarried, he still gets red envelope. Okay, and the custom came out when in the old days we used to have coins, not bills. So when people get the hong bao, like I have here right now, and when they shake around, you make all these noises to go around with the drums and the gowns. Next. And of course, Chinese people are very famous for their calligraphy. So in the old days when the common family don't have that much luxury. They don't have that many painting or decoration, you know, to decorate the house. What they usually do is they will get a piece of red paper and get their brush and ink, and they will write this character full. And what this character means is good luck. And it's a tradition during the Lunar New Year time. We tend to flip the word upside down because to get the connotation that means, because the word to arrive or to begin is the same sound for the word upside down. So when you see these pictures, you know, this word hanging upside down at everyone's door, it's kind of symbolized that good luck is arriving and is pouring down onto your house. Next. So of course, you know, like I guess also in all New Year's, everyone wants to have a new set of clothes and new shoes. So we will always, you know, try to give every family member get a new set of clothes, you know, to celebrate. So here is just to share with you a glimpse of our staff down at Lower Manhattan, you know, wearing their festive Chinese jacket, you know, during our celebration. Next. So we talk a lot about what we do, but we should also remember what we should not do during Lunar New Year. The first and most important is, we'll go back first. Is the first thing on the New Year's Day, you do not wash your hair, because that kind of meaning you're washing away the wealth. On the same day, you do not clean your floor. You do not broom and sweep, okay? Because supposedly the first day, all the God and good luck is coming to your doorstep. We try to avoid any sharp objects. So you put away your scissors, needles, and only like if you need to serve food, we will use the knife, because, you know, those are considered something that will hurt or cause quarrels between family members and friends. Rice is a major crop for most of the Chinese family household. So we always want to make sure we will fill our rice barrel full, because if you have an empty or maybe half full rice barrel, it's kind of meaning you're going to have starvation or you're not going to do well in the future. During Lunar New Year's time, we try to stay calm and peaceful and happy. So we will not argue or scold anyone, okay, especially on the first day. And last but not least, do not borrow any money or lend anyone any money, because that kind of telling you that you're going to have a financial loss for the next year. So now we're going to go to the next one, to our dishes. So in Lunar New Year, every family must have a fish for their dish. And it has to be a whole fish, as the picture here, not pieces, not slide, but from head to tail. Because the fish in Mandarin for the sound, and in many dialects in Chinese, is called yu. And what that symbolizes is to have a lot of leftover. So it kind of represent that you're going to have an abundance, you know, of food, and meaning you will have a lot of wealth. So you have enough to last for the whole year. Next. Spring rolls. So I know many of you have spring rolls in many of the Chinese restaurants, and it's very common. And what spring roll represent to us when we start eating them, we call it Wang Jing Wan now, meaning a ton of gold. And you kind of think in your mind, if you kind of stack up the spring roll, it kind of looked like the gold bar that we put in the Federal Reserve. Next. So we always have a tradition, not just for Lunar New Year, but like on all major occasions, like a wedding, a birthday, we would like to have a roast pig, a full pig. Sometimes depend on the size. You know, if it's a small family gathering, you could get a miniature one, a mini one. But in our annual party at the hospital, we always have 2 big roast pig to serve all our guests and our staff. And the roast pig represent wealth, because in the old days, that's how most of the family feed the household. And also because if you could raise a couple pigs, it also meaning you could get a lot of income to support the family as well. Next. So during the Lunar New Year celebration, most of the Chinese family in the old days, they have to travel very far away to get jobs. So only during the Lunar New Year's, they get to really rest. So they will close off their shops and their business, and everybody will go back to their hometown. And they will have like a 2 weeks, or actually in the old days, they used to close for a whole month. But now, you know, because of traveling is much easier. So now people will tend to shorten their vacation to maybe 2 weeks. So during this time off, what we like to do is to go to visit our relatives and our neighbors. So we go to door to visit families. And what we like to bring is something meaning good luck to each family. So tangerine has the same connotation, meaning fortune. And it's easy to carry from one household to another. So we always will buy a lot of tangerine and send it off, you know, to visit our friends and relatives. And we could also serve it, you know, as a dessert. And last but not least, but as I said, now we tend to just shorten the celebration into 2 weeks. So on the last day of the Lunar New Year, we call it the Lantern Festival. And this is going to be the 15th day of the celebration. And what we always serve on this special day is the sweet rice ball we call tang yuan. It's actually is a rice flour, you know, that we kind of mix with water. And what we used to do in the old day is to add a piece of sugar cane inside the middle. But now things have started getting fancy. So you could now have fillings that could have like red beans, peanuts, or taro. And my personal favorite is sesame. So now, thank you for sharing this. I'm going to turn the camera to Chef Emily.
Actually, Chairman, it's Catherine, and I'll just tell you that as I adjust the screen, there is a question that someone is asking about it being the Chinese New Year of the Ox, and
Yes.
what is the significance of that?
Yes, so the ox, as many of you know, is a very productive and hardworking symbol. So what this year, the forecast is, you know, we're gonna be working hard, but, you know, we're gonna have, you know, productivity. And also because, you know, the ox is also represent a lot of energy. So everyone will be as strong and healthy like the ox. And hopefully, you know, our economy will also have a bullish year, you know, so everyone is having a very optimistic, you know, forecast for 2021. So stay well, and I wish everyone prosperity and also, you know, harmony at your family household. And, you know, we are seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, and we hope everyone, you know, will continue to stay well at where they are.
Chuman, thank you so much. And you can even see the comments in chat that our community has really enjoyed your presentation today. Everyone, Chuman is staying with us. So if you have any more questions about the cultural traditions, please put them in chat. And now we'll turn things over to Chef Emily for the cooking portion of today's program.
Thank you so much, Catherine, and thank you, Chuman, for your wonderful, informative presentation. I learned a lot from you about the Lunar New Year, and I hope our community did as well. So welcome, everybody, to the virtual teaching kitchen here at New York-Presbyterian Hudson Valley Hospital. I'm Chef Emily, and we're going to be making 2 dishes today. The first is a vegetable lo mein, and the second is our very own shrimp dumplings with homemade dumpling dough. So I'm going to begin. I've got a big pot of water boiling here. Just water, nothing else. I got that going ahead of time because it does take time for water to come to a boil. And these are the noodles I'm going to be using today. They are the wide lo mein noodles. So you can find these. I got these at our local ShopRite. So I'm just going to pop that into the boiling water. They cook relatively quickly. The package says about 4 minutes. So let's start. Let's see how accurate they are. Start our timer. Cook these for about 4 minutes. And then while these are cooking, almost at the end, we're going to add our beautiful bright green snow peas. So these are, again, easy to find in your local grocery store. And I'm gonna add them to the pasta cooking water about a minute before I drain them. So that way you don't need a separate pot to cook the peas as well as the pasta. So it's all in one. I have a colander set up here in the sink, so I'm all ready to go. While that is cooking, we can prepare the next step in this recipe, which is to work with our beautiful shiitake mushrooms. So shiitake mushrooms are very good for us. They're good for the immune system. I'm going to take off the stem. Often people will keep the stems and boil them in water and just kind of simmer them for about 30 minutes or so to make like a mushroom broth or stock that you can use for other recipes. So you can feel free to do that. So after you've taken off the stem, just going to tuck your fingers and slice and just make, you know, nice, easy slices right across. Everything should be approximately the same size and about 1/4 of an inch thick. So these are our mushrooms, right? Easy enough. And we're going to start by heating up a cast iron skillet. You can use a regular skillet as well, whatever kind of pan you prefer. I like the cast iron. I feel like it distributes heat really well, nice and evenly across the pan. And we're going to saute these mushrooms as soon as that gets warm. Meanwhile, let's prepare a wonderful thing to enjoy in the wintertime. Anyone can guess what this is? You can put it in the chat box. This is ginger root. It's called root, but technically it's a rhizome, which means it grows along the surface of the earth. It doesn't really go so deep like a carrot. And I'm just using a little vegetable peeler to kind of push along and take the skin off. Or if you don't have one of these, you can grab a little spoon. I don't have one handy, but you could grab, oh, here it is. It's in my cornstarch mixture. You can grab a little spoon and hold it up high and just gently, oh, not so gently, scrape. You really want to get the skin off so you can scrape away from yourself. You can see that, okay? Right? To remove the skin. So either one will work, whatever is easier for you. I'm a little more comfortable with a peeler, but if you don't have one, you can use a regular kitchen spoon. So as I'm preparing this, two men, if you'd like to share what is the significance of noodles? Why are we making this dish, and when would you enjoy it as part of your Lunar New Year celebration?
So actually, you know, noodles mean longevity. So every year, you know, on the first day of the holiday for the Lunar New Year, we will not eat any meat. So the first meal is always to kind of honor and to our ancestor, and also to honor our god and goddess. So we will stay as Buddhist vegetarian. So always, you know, the first meal we cook is going to be noodles with green vegetables.
Great. So we've got our green vegetables in here with our snow peas, and we've got our noodles ready for longevity. I love that in the Lunar New Year, you have like all of the foods have a really specific significance. I think that's really beautiful and very meaningful. You know, it's not just a big feast that everybody can throw together. Everything is chosen carefully.
Yes.
All right, so I'm just gonna mince up our ginger. Ginger, of course, has wonderful anti-inflammatory properties, antioxidant qualities, and can be helpful for digestion. So
Chef Emily.
my pan is getting nice and warm here. Yeah, Catherine.
Chef Emily, a quick question about the ginger from Adina. Do you have to peel the ginger?
Yeah, so Adina, that's a great question. I do recommend peeling ginger just because the exterior is kind of fibrous and a little just not that palatable and enjoyable to eat. So yeah, I would always peel your ginger. If you wanted to keep the peels, what you could do is you could put them in a pot of warm water, and you could make a ginger tea with it if you wanted to, try to use up as much of the ginger as possible. Certainly throw it in some warm water, and then you can have a nice ginger tea made with the exterior with the peel. You also are going to want to wash it really well because ginger has all these crevices, right, where can get stuck. So just keep that in mind as well. All right, we're going to pop our beans, our snow peas in. We're going to get our mushrooms going and saute that. I'm using a little bit of avocado oil. You could use any kind of neutral cooking oil that you might have in your household is fine. Avocado, grapeseed, canola, any one of those is great. And then the other thing I wanted to mention about ginger is you may not use all of the ginger that you buy. So I often recommend that you peel it like we did here, and then you can put it in a little Ziploc bag and freeze it, and it'll keep that way easily for 3 months. It will, when you take it out, you want to use it right away and grate it on like a box grater, like as if you were grating Parmesan cheese, because if you take it out, it will, and don't use it right away, it's going to get kind of soft and maybe difficult to use. So that's just a little recommendation on how to keep ginger a little bit longer. All right, so we're gonna get a little color on these mushrooms. Now, one of the tricks to getting some color on your shiitake mushrooms is actually not moving it around. So just letting it sit on that pan, hot pan, and it'll form a sear. Let's drain our noodles because they are ready. We've got our snow peas and noodles together. Drain that water off. It's like a big steam bath now. All right. So the noodles are done. It took about 5 minutes, and you can always check one, take one and try it, or kind of pinch it open and see if there's any starchiness that remains on the inside. But these are definitely done. I'll even put a little cold water on them so they don't keep cooking. This is a good trick if you are afraid of overcooking your noodles. Just spray a little cold water on them while you get everything else together. All right. So now we can give these a stir because they've had some time to sit. And there's definitely one side of these mushrooms that are nice and golden now. We just want to cook these all the way through. And then we'll add our ginger to that in a moment. I don't want to add the ginger right away because the ginger is going to cook really quickly, and I don't want it to burn while the mushrooms are still browning. We'll just give that another second. Meanwhile, I have 3 things combined here. I've got some mirin. This is what mirin looks like. You can, again, find this at your local grocery store. It's traditional Japanese sweetened sake. Sake is rice wine. So we have some mirin mixed with some soy sauce. I use low sodium soy sauce, a little bit healthier, and toasted sesame oil. So that's in here. And then in this little bowl, I have my cornstarch mixed with some water. So we're making what's called a slurry. You never want to add cornstarch directly to heat. You always want to mix it with water first. And that's because if you add it directly to heat, it's going to clump, it's going to stick, it's not going to be good. So you want to do this little slurry. Just mix it with cold water, not warm, right? Okay, I think we're ready now for our ginger. Pour that in. Give that a little stir. Smells really, really good. And let's add the rest of our ingredients right in here. You could throw some garlic in here too, or if you have scallions or spring onions, those are supposed to go in here too in this step, but I didn't have any today, so we're just gonna make it without. I have some that are growing from last week. I'll show you guys in our next recipe. We just toss that together. And let me bring this a little closer so you can all see. So you can see the mushrooms have some color on them. The ginger is starting to soften a little bit. We're ready for our next step. So we're going to add our remaining ingredients, the noodles and the beautiful snow peas. Pop that right in. And we're going to add some sauce. right? Our mirin, our toasted sesame, and our soy sauce all going right in. And then our slurry is going in there too. So everything goes in together. It's really useful to have a pair of tongs to kind of just toss that up so everything gets really well coated. The sauce will start to thicken almost immediately as the cornstarch is exposed to the heat, and it'll start to kind of thicken up. All right, Catherine, how's everybody doing? Any questions about this recipe or anything else you've mentioned so far?
Sure, Chef Emily, no further questions on the recipes yet, but I'm sure they'll come along. And as Karen shared, she reflects so many of the comments we're receiving in chat. As Karen says, fascinating info about the reasons for all the ingredients. Love these traditions and the nutritional bonus of all the healthy ingredients.
Oh, well, thanks, Karen. Thank you so much for joining. And I agree, it's very interesting, all the significance. All right, so that's pretty much done. Let's add some cilantro. Just gonna chop this up and pop it right on top. And another thing that can be served with this dish, which is really lovely if you'd like to try, is a soft boiled or a poached egg. So if you wanted to, you would make your poached egg and serve it right on top. And then you would have a protein in this dish as well. You can also add some cubes of tofu or tempeh if you want to add a vegetarian source of protein too. All right. And Catherine, I think I noticed a little chat pop up. Does someone have a question or comment?
No, some of our guests have asked about getting a copy of the recipes. And of course, if you didn't get them already, we will send them to you. We're keeping note of who is asking. And Chuman, with a question for you, seeing Chef Emily prepare recipes that are so familiar to you, any comments?
I think, sometimes we also want to mix these dishes to accommodate our young children. So sometimes what we like to also add is some colors. So we sometimes add like some carrot, and we cut them like into star shape of flowers, to throw in, So
that's so cute.
It'll be more attractful, and all maybe like baby corns, that's also something that we could try too.
That's awesome. Yeah, that sounds really good. So here is our lo mein dish. Oh my gosh, this is heavy. You can also add some toasted sesame on top or some cashews or something like that if you'd like. And now, if it's all right with the two of you, I will turn to our dumpling recipe. Okay. All right, so our next recipe is going to be the shrimp dumplings. And again, there's some really nice significance about shrimp and dumplings too. So, well, I prepare, I'm going to use a food processor for this. And I just have some large, not jumbo, but large shrimp, right? And there's no, you just kind of want to drain off any extra liquid. This is really easy if you do it in the food processor because everything just gets popped right in there. So there's our shrimp. Let's add some garlic cloves. Sprinkle those in. So you want to make sure you take off the exterior, right? So you're just going to use the side of your knife, or you can use a jar and give it a good smash. Pop the skin off and just trim the bottom. Nice and easy. You can also use garlic that's already been minced if you like. So let's throw that in with our shrimp. We have some more ginger that I already peeled, and let's help the food processor out a little bit just by roughly chopping this. Sometimes the food processor can't really get to every piece, and the ginger kind of floats at the top. So just want to give it a little chop. Pop that in there too. Okay, and we're going to add 2 ingredients here, a little bit of soy sauce and some toasted sesame oil. Now, if you didn't see, the toasted sesame oil is this one. It's a lot darker than regular sesame oil, and it has a really lovely nutty aroma. So that's why we're using it today. It's one of my favorite oils to use because it just bumps up the flavor really, really well. All right, here are our scallions from last week. So you can see I cut all the way down to about here, and then I put them in some water, and they have grown back. So sorry to do this to you, scallions. I'm gonna just pull off the tops because we're gonna throw these into our dumplings as well.
And Chef Emily?
Yes.
Yeah, may I just ask a question from A Classy? Recipe calls for 4 ounces of shrimp. Approximately how many pieces of shrimp would that be?
Yeah, so that should be about, so 4 ounces is probably a little bit more than like a cup of shrimp. Let me just see. What did I write? Peeled and deveined, 4 ounces. So yeah, ounces is definitely the weight measurement, but if you don't have a scale, approximately how many shrimp would that be? I don't know, maybe 10, 15. I think there's not, there's not really, if you have like, you can't really go wrong with this recipe. You'll just end up with too much filling, I guess. But you can't really go wrong. You can just, you just might have to adjust, if it's like too wet or too dry. But you'll see, as long as it looks like this, and I'll show you, then you've done it correctly. I know that's not a great answer, but so you can see it's kind of like this paste, right? So this is our filling. This is done. It's as easy as that. And I have our dipping sauce, which I'm going to make for you next. Okay, and we're just going to get our dumpling dough ready to shape our dumplings. Now, of course, you can buy wonton wrappers. You do not have to do all of this if you don't want to, but it is really fun. So if you want to make your own dumpling dough, you can. I included a recipe for how to do that. And I'm just gonna pop this open for rolling out our dough. I wanted to experiment today with some whole wheat, because I've never done this with whole wheat flour, but I just wanted to show you all, it actually worked really well. So this is the whole wheat flour dumpling dough. And it's a lot easier to make than you might think. You simply just mix, the ratio is 2 to 1. So 2 cups of flour for 1 cup of water. And that's pretty much it. And the water has to be hot. That's the most important part of dumpling dough recipe, is it has to be hot. So here's a version that is not whole wheat. I'm always trying to make things a little bit healthier here. So here's a version of the dumpling dough that's not whole wheat. You can see how beautiful and stretchy it is, right? So all you do is you mix very, very hot water, 2 to 1, maybe a little pinch of salt if you'd like. And then you just set it in a bowl and let it rest for at least 30 minutes. And then you can roll it out and use it. So any questions or comments about that? I know I'm doing a lot today, but I want to make sure you guys get all the good information and recipes that we have to offer.
Chef Emily, this question is for you as well as Chu Man. Barry's asking a good question about making the vegetables, making the dumplings vegetable rather than shrimp, and what would you use, celery or broccoli? And I'm interested in hearing more about Chu Man's favorite dumpling, which I think she said is filled with sesame.
Oh, that is the tang yuan that we use for the dessert.
The rice, yeah, the rice ball.
That's the, yeah.
Which also sounds delicious. So I guess just to answer your question, Barry. So definitely we're making a shrimp one today, and thank you for watching. So if you wanted to make this vegetarian, use different vegetables. Just saute some veggies up. Add the same. You're gonna definitely want to add like some ginger, some maybe some garlic. Maybe if you have like scallions, or you could add some sesame seeds, or just something to kind of give your vegetables some flavor. And you just want to cut them up really small, give them a quick saute, and that's pretty much it. You could use broccoli. I like the idea of the broccoli. I think that's really nice. Haven't used celery, but I don't see why not. Carrot, of course, would be good. And what else could you use, Chu? What would you put in your vegetable dumplings? Mushrooms.
You can also use like corns and mushroom. And you dice it into pieces. And if you want to have some taste, we use my mom used a lot of water chestnut.
Oh,
So
that's a good
kinda have a
idea.
sweet
Yeah.
taste and crunchy flavor too. You don't want to
Yeah.
use vegetables that will turn very soft and watery,
Yeah.
because then it kind of like will kind of doesn't make the dumpling look
Too
as
mushy, right?
too mushy. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and on that note, I think that's why it's important to saute it, because it helps to remove some of the liquid as well, right?
And Chef Emily and Chu Man, everyone is always interested in your tools. Denise is asking regarding a steamer basket. There are so many out there. What should we look for? Any recommendations?
So hi, Denise. I think in terms of steamer basket, I'm actually going to show you how to do this without one, because I know a lot, like some people don't have a steamer basket. So I'm going to show you how to make it without a steamer basket, and we'll do sort of like a hand sear steam finish technique. But any steamer basket that's going to fit into a pot that you already own is useful.
Yeah.
So you don't want to buy something that doesn't fit in your pot.
Learning how to make dumplings.
All right, so I'm just gonna seal these off. You saw that I added a little bit of egg wash, and we're gonna kind of push this. These are gonna be big dumplings. These are gonna be like empanada-sized dumplings.
I didn't do anything.
All right, so seal them up, and I'm just noticing perhaps someone has forgotten or accidentally unmuted themselves. So if you guys wouldn't mind just quickly checking your microphones. You might have seen me also use a little bit of egg wash. That's really helpful, or some water, right? Because you want to seal these really, really well. So I kind of go in half first. And you can see there's this white powder that's on these. I used cornstarch to roll these out. So that's my preference. You can use, something else if you've got flour or something like that, but I like using the cornstarch. Oh, these look really nice. All right, so this one's a little bit wide. So I'm actually gonna grab my scissors and just trim it a bit, because I want this to be more even across. Chu, you probably do this 100 times faster than I do. All right. So
No, I think you're doing a very great job.
thanks, thank you. I love to make dumplings, and in our last snowstorm, I didn't get my grocery delivery, and we were home, and fortunately I had some frozen shrimp in the freezer. I had a head of cabbage, I had some ginger and garlic, and I had some flour. So we made our own dumplings at home, and it's always a good thing to actually know how to do, because it's of course really flavorful and delicious when you need to make something in a pinch,
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Want to share with the audience, sometimes if you happen to have a Chinese supermarket around your area, they do sell these dumpling mold, where you could just lay the dough and then put the ingredient and you turn it upside down, it will fold in half like an omelet, and then it will automatically give you the shape. So you don't have to, but of course, Emily, she's so used to it.
Yeah, that's great. That's good to know about. And definitely, if you guys want to invest in your dumpling making, you can, purchase something like that. All right, so we've got 4 of those ready here. Let me rinse my hands. I'm getting my pan nice and hot, and I'm gonna start by putting a little bit of oil, and we're just gonna sear the bottom. Then we're gonna add our liquid, cover it quickly, and it's gonna make a sort of a steam finish. All right, so I just wanna make sure this is hot. Oh, there we go. I know we are a little tight on time today. We wanted to cover so much for you all.
I think you're doing
let's right away. Thank you. Right away, put our dumplings in there. It's going to be really hot, so be careful. You want to form a sear, so this is good. I'm using a high heat cooking oil, which is why you see all of that smoking. That's just fine, because we're using our avocado oil today. So start by searing, and you want it to really get a nice brown on the bottom, and then we'll do Add some water to it and finish it off with a little steam finish. So this is perhaps the scariest part, is you're gonna have to add water. So I like to use this as a shield almost. Add water and cover right away to let it steam. So it's gonna make a lot of noise. It's gonna make a lot of steam. This is good for keeping away the spirits, right? Sure, this is like the evil the good dragon coming is in the pan, scaring away anything that's not going to service this year. All right. So, any questions? Let's check in with our audience.
Chef Emily, a few questions about cooking the dumplings. Barbara is wondering if you can place the dumplings in an air fryer. Would that work? And let me let you answer that, and then we have a couple more.
Yeah, that's a really interesting idea, Barbara. I don't know because I don't have an air fryer. Chu, have you ever made this with an air fryer? What do you think?
I haven't tried with air fryer, and I'm just concerned because the skin is actually very thin. So yeah. I'm afraid if you put it in the high heat with the air fryer, it will kind of tend to ruin the texture. What we usually do is we actually usually boil them first before we fry them, you know, like, or we could steam them just like that. But I've never done with air fryer, but we could try.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really curious. I don't know.
One other question, Sharon is asking, can you bake them?
Can you bake them? I've never baked them. Have you?
No, not.
No. I think.
I think we just lost Emily's feed. Yeah. So let's just give Emily a minute.
Sure.
Let's see.
I'm glad, you know, throughout
She's coming back on.
We have a lot of people, you know, sharing the recipes. Yeah. And thank you, Charlene, you know, for sharing. In regarding to the sealer, either way, you could use water, but I think egg will help to seal it better if you know, have eggs, you know.
All right, sorry about that, everyone. I accidentally touched my earphone and it communicated to my phone that the meeting was over. I don't know how it did that, but we're back here. Sorry about that.
That's fine, thank you.
All right, so I'm just gonna finish off with our dipping sauce. Now you guys have a recipe for this as well in your packets. And again, if you don't, we'll make sure that you have this at the end of our program as well. So I think it's on the 5th page or 6th page, but it's just a mix of a little bit of sugar with some hot water, some rice vinegar, some chili oil. If you don't have chili oil, you can use the little red pepper flakes. And some toasted sesame seeds, toasted sesame oil, and a little bit of soy sauce as well. If you want, you can also add some fresh garlic to this too. And this is going to make our dipping sauce. All right, everyone. I know it's just about time, so I just want to check in. Do we have any final questions or comments?
In terms of just one more recipe question, we'll make that final. Charlene and another guest noticed that before you covered the dumplings, you hadn't turned them over. Is it supposed to be that only one side is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Great question.
If you could explain that.
Yep. So that's a great question, and you're exactly right. So you don't want to move them, because if you're going to try to move them, they're going to fall apart. So you can see, I'll pick one up here. There's a nice sort of like crusty bottom, but then the top is nice and soft, right? So these are like super sized dumplings today. I really went for it. But But yeah, so just make a sear and then add a little bit of water to steam them. And you can see here, they're now completely steamed and finished. I'm really pleased with this whole wheat experiment. I wasn't sure how it was going to work out, but I'm just going to show you the inside. Yeah, it looks really good. So it's nice and pink. I don't see any gray. So these are done. That's how you can tell. All right. So happy Lunar New Year, everybody. Thank you for bearing with me through a momentary technical difficulty. And Catherine and Shu, anything to add?
I just want to add one more thing. Today actually is the 7th day of the Lunar New Year. So it's a birthday for everyone. So I just want to say happy birthday to everyone here, and thank you for joining us. I mean, this year, it has been really challenging, and we really miss out a lot of the physical in-person activities. But I'm so glad, with this Zoom meeting, we're bringing, people from north, east, west, and south, all together. And even with this, snowstorm outside, but I think we really enjoy, this demo. And I really appreciate. And if you guys really look at the dumplings that Emily made, if you kind of picture yourself, the dumpling actually represent the golden nugget. So that's how people always want to celebrate with dumplings, So there's a lot of, good fortune, behind of each dishes. Thank you for sharing, Emily.
Thank you. And I forgot to ask you the significance of shrimp.
I forgot to wrote it. So actually, I think I did. So shrimp actually have the same sounds when people laugh. So it's actually meaning happiness. So that's why in a lot of, if you go to like a Chinese banquet, you will always see a dish of fish. You always see shrimp, because shrimp is meaning like happy, people are laughing, so it's a favorite dish, and then even if you're not making dumpling, you just stir fry them and the color turn orange. It looks so beautiful, with a mixture of broccoli or any kind of green vegetable. So you always see them, in a lot of these big parties. You won't miss them.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you so much. And Catherine?
Chef Emily, thank you. True man, as I said earlier, we're so fortunate to have had you do this program today with Chef Emily. We're so fortunate to have you as our colleague. And as you can see from the wonderful comments in chat, this very large group, at one point we had 86 guests. Everyone has enjoyed it, and it just spreads so much good cheer for the new year and on this snowy day.
Yes. Thank you,
everybody. Take care. Happy Lunar New Year.